Meeting 4:30. Call the meeting to order. Is there any changes to the agenda?
There is not.
Call for motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Public input. No public input. Wastewater treatment plant, Mr. Ben.
Just in time.
So not too much going on other than what I wrote for you guys. We did get
Yes.
UV system running. The check valves for our influent pumps were installed last Friday. So all we're really waiting for now is the sludge transfer pump to be installed on June 1st. Except for the rain that we got the last day or two, sludge hauling is going well. Hopefully we'll finish up at the end of this week unless the fields don't dry up enough. Digester update. So I was contacted by Corcoran last Friday. He stopped by today. They are going to be lifting the cover on the digester on Monday. And then they're going to have to sandblast to get down to decent concrete, and then put the new coating on to smooth over the gouges that they put in last year. Does anybody have any questions on that write-up?
Yeah, what causes the gouges?
They went in with chisels to try to get the coating off, and they really went too deep.
I just saw we had gouges and I was just curious as to what actually caused them.
Yeah, so they went in with chisels to try to get that coating off, and they just kind of nicked up the concrete really, really good.
And this is still a warranty work, right?
It's all warranty. We should not have to pay a dime on this. So does anybody have any other questions?
And I don't know if you caught, but it was kind of a requirement that they contract with a third-party inspector.
Yeah, and that's the report that followed the numbers on my report.
So not only do we have our engineer looking after this, but we also have a third-party professional who's supposed to know what they're doing to make sure this is done right. So
Yeah, and he sounds like he knows his stuff. When I was down in the tank with him, a lot of stuff was over my head. So
What's going on with the repainting they were supposed to do? Have you heard anything about that?
what's that?
The repainting?
That's what they're working
Is that
on.
what this is all
Yeah,
for?
so they basically wrecked the concrete by gouging it. So now they got to go over with a smoother. So they're basically putting a polymer type concrete over everything. Then they're going to put the coating that was originally on over that. So yeah, they got to do a lot more than what they anticipated.
Well, that's on them.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
And then,
Okay.
go ahead.
Just waiting if we had any more questions for you.
And I would like to stay for the phosphorus or phosphate addition.
All right. Next items, consider an ordinance to remove the requirement to inject fluoride in the city's water system.
Basically, what happened was the DNR did a couple presentations to our water department, and we have lead services. So lead services are a huge concern with the administration. Rules are coming forward down the pipe. And after review, I found that we have a Chapter 13 ordinance requiring us to inject fluoride into our water. The reason that's important is because we need that chemical room to inject the polyphosphates. So we only have 2 current chemical rooms. So having this ordinance, I would like to remove it. Currently, the only reason for fluoride is for teeth. So that is what that became a requirement for in the past. It is not required by the DNR. We are not required to have it in our water. We do have one well that has natural fluoride in it. We're required by the DNR to test for lead in our drinking water, and we have 307 lead and galvanized services. So the lead does not get into the water from us. we pump it up a well, there's no lead there. It isn't until it goes through the main into the customer's service where the lead actually infiltrates into the water. In 2024, the DNR is going to change the requirements that we have for testing for lead, and they're reducing and adding this, what they consider a trigger level. So what that means for us is we come very close to passing our lead. We didn't think we were going to pass it this time, and we did. So we periodically have to test. With this new trigger level, I'm anticipating we're not going to pass. So if that happens in 2024, we would be required to notify our customers within 30 days. We would have to hire a company to increase monitoring, and then we would have to create a lead service line replacement plan and basically remove all those services within 2 years. So the other added thing is we have to implement corrosion control study. So with that study, we will be forced to introduce polyphosphates into the water at that time. Currently, half of the municipal water utilities in the United States implement polyphosphates already. The reason we haven't done it is purely cost. So our cost to inject fluoride currently per year is about $4,298. And to inject polyphosphates, it's going to cost us $18,000, roughly $19,000, and another $10,000 to change pumps, scales, and implement that at that level. We're obviously going to work on a plan. We're concerned about the lead. The polyphosphates basically coat the pipe, so it has other benefits, but primarily for us, the reason I'm bringing this to you guys sooner than later is we need to implement this sooner because it takes approximately a year for us to get the benefits of coating those surfaces to prevent the lead. So once we implement polyphosphates, the testing data that we reviewed showed that the lead in the water would be reduced by about half from a service. So this is some of the information I have, and this is the reason I'm asking to remove this fluoride ordinance. So it would allow us to put polyphosphates instead of fluoride into the water. We don't have 3 chemical rooms in our pump houses, and as a general manager, I want to protect the ratepayers. So if we wouldn't implement this and we would have to continue to put fluoride, you'd probably see a water rate increase and your water rates would go up. So we're going to be forced to do this by the DNR, and this is going to be the easiest, most cost-effective way for us to implement this. If we don't do polyphosphates now, we aren't going to pass this test that I'm anticipating just because we came so close. They basically took that line and brought it down. So we just passed. There's no way, we know we're not going to pass this test. And then once we hit that trigger level, we have to replace all these services anyway. So, and implement polyphosphates.
I would move we approve that ordinance because time is of the essence, obviously.
Can we have a discussion on that?
Oh, definitely.
So
We should call for a second first and then have a discussion.
Correct. Yep. So Dennis seconds. Yep.
Motion made and seconded, and now we'll have a discussion.
okay. So when I saw that on the agenda today, because I only looked at the agenda this morning, it was kind of a red flag for me. I was in the dental world for 15 years. I'm just going to read the email that I had wrote before I knew I was going to be able to come. So I was in the dental field for 15 years and would be against this for several reasons. When fluoride is added to the city water, it benefits the teeth that are developing, whether in the womb as the baby is developing or in children up to around age 12. It benefits from the inside of the body, giving developing dentition strength. It also helps people with dry mouth from medications or age by giving an added layer of relief and protection. And as you all know, fluoride is in some toothpastes and mouthwashes. Topically, it is still beneficial, but not from the systemic part of the body. It's more of a Band-Aid. The systemic internal application when young and developing is of greater value. So my guess, so really, you know, as adults, it doesn't really affect us, but it affects the younger generation by, you know, when they're developing, before those teeth develop. I know our city is trying to attract younger families to come and move here. I really do think that is a concern for people.
You can supplement fluoride by using a fluoride toothpaste. There's other ways to get
Correct.
fluoride. People in the outskirts don't have
Right.
fluoride, so they all, every person with a personal well does not have the same luxury.
Right, and that's
So-
one of the first questions when you go to the dentist, they'll ask you if you have well or city water. It's just a benefit. The reason I worry about it is there are so many families who have no oral hygiene education. And when kids have no control over this, so it gives them just a little bit of a boost in protecting them until they're old enough to take care of their mouth. The topical isn't as effective. It just, you know, the internal, when it's built into their system from the inside out, it just makes their teeth stronger. And I know that there's a added cost.
There will be an
not
extreme added cost. Being the fact that we don't have another chemical room
Right.
means we basically have to rebuild every one of our well houses.
Right.
So if you know how the utility works, we're not for profit. So we can only make 6% of our revenues over and above our operating costs for a year. So if I have to spend $500,000, because if we fail, the DNR mandates this anyway. So
Right.
we're going to do it no matter what.
Right.
And to do that, then I would have to implement a whole nother room onto all of our well houses, which that cost could be astronomical. Honestly, I haven't even calculated those costs. I'm just talking about when we have to remove the lead. So I'm trying to be proactive. If we can pass our test, then I can hopefully not impact the ratepayers by replacing all the lead services as these requirements come down. So we're being very proactive to get the lead out of our system. There's lasting benefits to polyphosphates. I'm glad you're here. We may have to work together a little bit and see how this is going to affect your end.
Yeah, just like the DNR that's mandating what you're doing, they're mandating that I remove more phosphorus from the river.
Right.
So our costs are going to go up depending on your residual. I have no idea if you guys calculated what your possible residual is going to be of the phosphates in the water.
I have some of that information that I can review with you, definitely, because we did testing to see what our requirements would be.
Because
you know.
currently we're using roughly $50,000 worth of ferric a year for what we're currently getting. I'm sure this will substantially add to that.
I think
So you
When
gotta
you
put
look
it
at
in and he's gotta
lack
take
of-
out.
the harm lack of fluoride might cause versus what lead can cause inside the body is, I think,
And
that's why the DNR has the rule to get rid of the lead. It's much more dangerous than not having fluoride in your water.
Just to give you guys a rough estimate, if I have to do this in 2 years, we have 307 lead services. If I do 100 services at $5,000 a service, that's an increased cost to our customers of $500,000.
Yep.
So that would be a rate case study, and we're not going to lose any revenue. The Public Service Commission would review that and give us a 6% above that for our revenue cost. And then that rate would be what you're going to pay for your water usage. So there would either be a substantial increase in your meter charge or your gallons. And I think we're high enough. I mean, I'm trying to protect the ratepayers. I understand there's concerns on both sides of the fence, and that's why I'm here to discuss those with you guys.
And one thing that would help too, like we have to look at the metals that are going into our sludge. And 3 things that come from the water system are lead, zinc from galvanized pipes, and copper. So when those levels get high enough, we have action limits on our fields. So we can't go over a certain percentage. So a benefit of this is to coat everything so it's not going to leach into the water system. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's going to
Yeah, we're also going to curb a little bit of our chlorine use because adding this chemical into the water allows us to use less chlorine. So
Well, it's another plus, yeah.
it is a plus.
How many other municipalities have dropped fluoride, adding fluoride? Do quite a few of them do it
I would
yet, or-
imagine most of them are set up similar to ours. I'd have to do some
I
phone
have
calls.
actually, I printed out, I could email it to everybody, every place, every town in Wisconsin. Those deficient in fluoride not adjusting and those adjusting. I don't know if anybody wants that. It's one of those to me kind of like, and without that huge cost factor. But I think we also need to make people aware that it's leaving if it's going to leave, that.
Yep. And that could be easy enough. We could do campaigns. You guys put all.
We would notify our customers before we would make that change. Definitely. That's something we would always do.
It's definitely a much shorter list that don't adjust than that do adjust. And there are some, districts that have enough in their water supply.
And like I said, it's not like we wouldn't have any fluoride at all. We still have one well that doesn't even require it because it's naturally occurring in that well. So we don't inject it at that site.
Yeah.
So it's not like we wouldn't have any, but it's just cheapest available option right now without incurring some substantial costs.
And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them lists don't go this road too, if they've got lead services.
Well, you have to remember polyphosphates are more expensive than fluoride. So we're going to be a pioneer. Our water department is way ahead of this curve. I mean, for us to only have 300 services, a lot of other communities are doing, nothing. So this trigger is going to affect them. And you're going to see a mass change out of lead services. I mean, that's what the administration is pushing for. So it's going to happen. So we're trying to be ahead of it so I can actually get those services replaced.
Yeah, if we don't do it, the state's gonna make us anyway, so it costs
Once we
more.
fail the test, we're going to be required.
So,
at that time, then we would significantly incur costs if you guys wanted to continue to inject fluoride because we would have to accommodate a third room. And
How long do you have to inject that phosphorus? Is that like a lifelong thing then?
I think we could definitely adjust the levels. Obviously, if we got rid of all of our lead but it's still going to help with the copper as well. So it's kind of the new age. People are really, there's too many benefits to not go this route. It's just, can the municipals do the expenses and impact the ratepayers? For us, the $18,000 isn't going to really impact the ratepayers to the substantial amount that if we would have to do the upgrades to the infrastructure, then you're going to see significant costs.
there's an old saying, politics is the art of the possible. There's certain things you gotta do. You gain something here, but you lose something over here.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure everybody was kind of aware of the benefits of fluoride, and it's for those kind of that are not.
And politically,
Able
this has
to-
gotten into, I did talk to Berlin. This was a huge discussion there. They had some people feeling the same way you did. And it was a 6-month battle, and ultimately they're eliminating fluoride. So
Well, there you go.
I think we've got a motion second, and we would have to take this to council. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. This will go to council. And I hope Jay will be there at council to present your information.
certainly.
Okay, the next item I see
yeah.
is review and approve street light installation in London Acre subdivision. Is that Romanesco's?
Yep. So Jay, I'll have you kind of continue on this one as well, but
Yep,
you can see on the
definitely.
map here, the Romanesco London Acres parcel.
Basically, we look for approval from the council to install streetlights. The reason for that is we have rates, and we basically maintain the infrastructure, and you guys pay for the cost. So the costs right now are in the rates, so you don't pay anything upfront. You pay it through the rates of the billing. That's why we need your approval. So I believe there's 8 lights in this subdivision, and we'd like to install them. You can do it either way, as the houses develop or all of them now. My recommendation is to do it now, just because we're there, doing the initial install before the lots go in and the dirt and everything. It's just easier. Once it's in, we're finished. So rather than, okay, oh, now there's 3 houses built, we got to go put another light out there and then put all the gear, drag it out there, install 1 light. So it's more efficient if we can just have all the wire and install everything out. So that's why I'm here to,
Where is
see
that?
if we
Is
can
that the
do
new place?
that's
up
out on Clot Road.
By the high school?
Yep,
Correct.
high school's right here.
Right off W.
We put streetlights in all new subdivisions anyway,
Yes.
don't we?
Yep, we do.
Gotcha.
And there'd be less landscaping because now there's no landscaping. Otherwise, he'd be digging up turf and have to replace turf as well. If you did it onesie twosies.
I would move we go ahead and approve this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the installation of streetlights in London Acre subdivision. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody abstaining?
Green dot sidewalk.
Consider to award a contract for sidewalk patching.
Yep. So every year for the new older persons, we try to do some sidewalk patching. We've typically done about $25,000 worth of sidewalk patching. And last year we didn't do it just with the COVID. And so this year last year we carried over into this year. Plus we added on the 25,000. So we're trying to play a catch up year and do about a $50,000 project. So what we have is that the city is put into, I think we have 8 zones or 6 zones. I can't remember off the top of my head, but then we go and inspect those zones each year. And this helps us with our liability, because if sidewalks get too bad and if there's a trip and fall, someone really hurts themselves and we're showing that we're not doing anything, that doesn't help us. So we constantly are on a plan for investigation and surveying, and then doing some repairs. So we did have 2 bids for this round of sidewalk patching. They ranged from $45,600 to $49,250. And you can kind of see in the bid tab, the bid tabulation, Summers Construction was the lesser of the 2 bids at $45,600. Our engineering firm did review the bids and everything looked up and up. So they're recommending that we award this year's contract to Summers Construction in the amount of $45,600. But it's a unit cost. So depending on how far we go, with the sidewalks, we've got them all marked out. But depending, we're going to hit a dollar amount of about $45,600 and stop. But it might be a little bit up or down from that by the time we're said and done. But again, making the recommendation to you guys to award the contract to Summers Construction for this year's sidewalk patching.
What area are we gonna put these in?
Right now, we have zone H and F that was designated in this bid, which is looking at the southwest corner of the community. But looking at what's inspected there, I don't see us having, that's newer sidewalks in there. So we're going to repair those. We are going to filter into another zone easily with the amount of money that we have. So I don't have the zones in front of me, but we're going to start on those 2 zones that we had specified. But I foresee definitely coming into another zone. Actually, I can bring up.
Washington Street's got all kinds of marks on them.
Yeah, they went out and inspected a bunch of different areas. Did I pass it? Sidewalk inspection. So they actually go out and they take a little handheld device, and F and H were on the docket for this year. There's definitely not $50,000 worth of work in those 2 zones. So we're probably going to filter back up, because we did D last year and we've got leftovers in D. So I think we're going to be doing H, F, and D for the sidewalk inspection. But it's kind of nice because they go out and they got a little device and they plot, what's all the sidewalk width, the sidewalk length, and they actually take pictures of what's all damaged for our record keeping. So this helps us in our documentation of that we're going out and doing inspections. sidewalk inspections, so.
So you have $25,000 allotted every year in your budget?
Typically, we've put $25,000 per year. Last year, we didn't do anything, so we carried that over. So this year, we're playing a catch-up year to do last year's and this year's all together.
Also, what was the other company that put in a bid?
The other one was,
Fisher.
back to here.
So,
It was Summers Construction and then Jim Fisher out of Appleton. And pretty close between the two of them, but Summers Construction was a little bit cheaper. And it's based on a unit cost and a specified now. They both were told, roughly we're going to be doing about, 4,700 square feet of 4-inch sidewalk, about 500 square feet of 6-inch sidewalk, and then the epoxy coated tie bars. So that's just an estimate of what we're looking at for this project. And then they bid a unit cost based on that. And that's what gives us our bid amount. So by the time we're said and done, this might be, 45,400 square feet, or it might, depending on if we can fit it in, it might be 4,800 square feet and 600 square feet. But our budget cap is, we have $50,000 budgeted for the project this year.
And we've had both of them do work in the city before.
Jim Fisher had it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Summers Construction was the contractor that did Division Street, was a subcontractor, was on Division Street, subcontractor for Cedar. And they might be the sub for Warner Allen. I'm not positive on that one. But both of them have worked in town.
In one.
And our engineers have worked with both of them and have no complaints whatsoever.
All right, we need a motion.
Yep.
No, the east side. Trying to have a shared driveway.
Second.
what are the ones?
Motion made and seconded to award the contract to Summer Construction. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Anybody abstaining? Motion carried. The next thing I see is discuss partial size modifications for the downtown riverfront property, retention of public and utility access. This, I believe, probably is for the downtown street project that's coming up. Or
Correct. This is in regards to the riverfront property that the Economic Development Committee decided that SC Swiderski had the best plan to move forward with. So here's the downtown riverfront parcel. You can see by the blue line what the current CSM, Certified Survey Map, is for that parcel. And I'm in negotiations, or we're in conversations right now with them to modify this because, number one, you can see on the west side of the parcel, there's not technically a right-of-way in there. It basically, the parcel goes to the center of the road. So evidently in the past, each one of these property owners owned the road. So we're looking at, on this side of the road, maybe bringing this line in to try to keep this trail, and then the road would be considered public access yet, so to retain public access. And then on the east side, potentially bringing the line straight down through here. Because this is the parcel they're going to be developing, and that's the bulk of where the multifamily units are going to go in. One of the reasons why to retain this section right here, I'll just pop in some of the sanitary. Where's my stormwater and stormwater? You can see there's quite a bit of utilities running through this corridor right here. So they would not be able to build on this anyway because there's a major storm sewer. There's water lines in there, I believe. Yep, the blue is water. They got sanitary sewer, which is green. And I believe there's gas in there as well, or something, or fiber optic or something. There's something that goes underneath the river that's pretty substantial as well. And then there's stuff that goes underneath the river. So this is a corridor we want to retain.
Comes off Smith Street.
What's that?
Smith Street.
That's Smith Street. It's basically an extension of Smith Street. But technically, this is part of the parcel. It's not considered right of way right now. So the thought process right now, and I just wanted to kind of get you guys input now for it as we go in these negotiations, is to kind of bring this line straight down, and it would kind of match, you know, the parcel line. Let me try to get here.
Could we then sell the other piece of property?
Yes, then we can look at over here for another development, which is kind of cool. So depending on if we want to do some type of commercial development on the corner, well, not on the corner, but the city would own this lot, and the city currently owns Longevity Building, but also 203 and 205. The city owns these lots right here. So potentially, yeah, we could turn around and do another development that complements that area down in here.
Was there a standard amount you want, Chad, to retain?
Nope. I mean, I'm just kind of bringing you guys up to speed where the conversation's going right now. So on the west side right now, we're looking at kind of narrowing it up to, you know, move that parcel line. Where my blue line's going?
And where are you gonna go with the development with Swiderski?
It would be in here in this grass lot.
And then where's John's Bar?
John's Bar is right here. 211.
Okay, and that's gonna be raised?
No.
Oh, just a parking lot?
We don't own that right now. That's
Back.
that's private property.
Okay.
So this current blue line, I don't know if you can see that up
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That current blue line right here is the parcel line.
okay,
So what we would do is bring this line potentially in
okay.
and bring this straight down. So we would retain this and then probably bring this blue line in a little bit and retain public access. There's quite a few people that walk this trail
Well, yeah, there's a lot.
to get to the river. So we want to retain that for public access and then also retain the roadway for public
And
access as
Smith
well.
Street, Smith Street is gonna go through there then? I
Smith's-
mean, well, Beacon? Wyman.
Wyman.
Wyman's
It's a
right in the
development.
middle.
Yeah. Technically, Wyman and Smith Street technically stop right now at Wolf River Avenue.
Yeah,
This is considered private and this is considered private. They're not city right of ways right now.
oh, okay.
Because if I go down, for example, if I go down here, if I click on this parcel, you can kind of see the property lines stop
That's right, yeah.
on either side. Whereas here, this property line goes right to the center of the road. So these were vacated back in the day for some other reason that the city vacated this street and this street to the property owners. This is right away yet. So you can kind of see, can I bring that up? This is right away. This is part of South Water Street.
Well, where Smith Street is, they used to have lumber piled all along in that area right there when the lumber yard was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plywood was going, yeah.
That was all lumber stacked in.
Yeah. So they created it as
That's why it was
private
just a
road.
drive. It was a way for them to get to their lumber was in the empty area in between,
Right here.
right there. So they just used that as their road to get back to the back and the railroad tracks went through there.
So the extension of Wyman, the property goes right in the middle of the road. Have you talked to Hilkers about what you want to propose? I mean, are they okay with having a road over there? Because they own half of that road too.
Correct. And it'd be the same as it is today. Is it a road today? Is it just private access? You know, it's technically private access. I mean, obviously a lot of the public use this.
I know they
But-
don't like to have traffic in the back there, so I just didn't know how they would feel about having that as a road.
Yeah. And it wouldn't technically be a road. It would just be, it wouldn't be a public right of way. It would just be city owned for like access to what it is today. You know, technically when Hilker drives back here, technically they're on this side of the property line right here when they're driving back on the right side. And then when people are coming out, they're technically on Hilker property when they come through here. So we'd have to have the conversations with them just to make sure everybody's on the same page with that.
Because you'd be moving this property line over, but you wouldn't be moving the road.
Correct.
So half of the road would still be theirs.
So pretend this line is here and pretend a new line is here. And in this middle here, the city would retain ownership. Not technically right away, but just retain ownership. Yeah, I'll kind of put a line.
Does Hilker plow that now or do we plow that?
That's a good question.
Hilker plows it.
I think he was pretty clean.
Hilker
there.
plows it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as I can remember, that Borden's used to have a sign there on Wolf River Avenue, that's some private property.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you couldn't go on there anyways.
Yep.
When I was
And that
growing
was the
up.
same on the other street too.
Same on Smith.
Yep. So we'll have to have conversations because you're going to get rid of my things.
We had a right of way back there for the sewer and stuff, but
Yeah, because we got sewer going through there too. Where's this?
Yeah.
The green is the sewer.
Well, really, the only traffic it gets now are the semis, or if somebody's lost.
Yep. But SC Swiderski, they're probably going to put a driveway through here for out of their development. So they're going to be coming on this side, but Hilker is going to want this side to be able to come in with their semis too.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to want to access as well. So we might have to more defining whether it's a, you know, an easement overall for just public access easement, egress, ingress easement through here on their side. We'll have to have those conversations as well. But are you guys kind of okay with that for us to kind of keep this in the public realm and then kind of move this property line over and then retain this and basically focus on SC Swiderski's sale in the long run of this parcel where they're going to develop?
I mean, they could put their own access in the front off of Wolf River Avenue too, to get into their property, you know, instead of, I'm just worried about the one on the left there with
This one?
yeah, because of all the trucks going in there.
Yeah.
and The fact that they're sharing the road and it's a private road right now. I mean, I have no problem with the one on the right. I think that's a great idea because that gives us more property to auction off in the future.
Yep. So their site plan, if you guys recall that, I don't have a copy of that right now. Their site had buildings all the way across here in the front and then had a structure here and a structure here. So their current site plan, if it comes to fruition, kind of brings a drive and then parking, and then drive, come out, and then would be out through here. And I don't know how many people would be, there'd be a little bit of increased traffic, but it's residential. It's not like it's going to be a ton of people coming in and out all day, you know, through here. But like you said, conversations we're going to have with Hilker, just make sure everybody's on the up and up. And then we retain, actually the property line stops right here now. So this is our parcel, which is connected to a stewardship grant anyway. So we have to retain this in the public interest. So as I continue negotiations with them, any comments, any concerns, any thoughts about?
I know I am new, so can you just give me a quick lowdown on what they want to build there?
So they presented a plan to the Economic Development Committee.
Housing development.
And I don't have the plan sets in front of me or conceptual designs, but 3 different looking facilities. And they said they have a lot more success when it's not everything's the same. They kind of mix it up a little bit. So there was a set of, Bob, can you remember 4 structures in the front here? I think there were 4 structures lining the road for the most part. And then 2 structures in the back here. And the ones in the back close to the river were going to be a little bit, I wouldn't say high end, but they're going to be a little bit higher pricing than the ones that are on the road. All market rate,
Okay.
no subsidies, no, market or,
Yep.
subsidized housing or anything like that. All market rate housing. And yeah, but if their current site plan comes to fruition, the parking and driveway access would kind of split the lot in the middle. And one thing we have to work out in ourselves and utilities, we've got the sanitary sewer here, and then there's water line in there as well. Where's my water line map? And all those, the sewer and the water is going to have to be relocated because they're planning on putting buildings in these areas here.
I have a plan I can show her. Chad.
Good. There you go. Cool. So
Since they have an offer to purchase that property,
Mhm.
would we have to redo the offer to purchase to exclude that property on the right-hand side there?
The current offer to purchase, we created language that the sale will not go through until the city and developer both agree upon a new CSM and the city and the developer agree upon a developer's agreement. So we have to get those two things figured out.
Anybody else want to?
And you guys have to approve that. You know, the council has to approve both of those things before we even get to the sale of the parcels. So we made sure that we're protecting the city's assets and to make sure that we, first of all, we come up with agreed CSM and then agreed developers agreement before we actually sell it. So.
And we definitely have a need for that there.
Development there, yep. I don't have the full history, but I know the Economic Development Committee, how many years were they reviewing that? 10 years? I wouldn't even know.
At least.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. So the Economic Development Committee has been reviewing this for years and just recently came to a decision that this is the route that they want to go. So not a done deal, but this is just bringing me input for continued planning with them. So any questions, any thoughts, comments?
Instead of changing that, couldn't they put a cul-de-sac in the center of that new division and have them all come out on the Smith Street entrance? Then you wouldn't have to screw with that street?
Possibly.
Because to me, that makes more sense. Because then you don't have traffic coming out both ways onto Wolf River Avenue.
I'm just worried about mixing industrial and residential on the same street. I think it'd be dangerous and
Loud.
loud, yeah.
This is input I can bring back to them as they work on their site plan and
We're gonna end up with stop signs or something. Off of Wyman and Wolf River.
there should be stop signs there already.
Well, not off of Wyman, not on Wolf River Avenue. Like you stop at Wyman.
Like coming off of here?
No, like going, if you're traveling on Wolf River Avenue.
No, that's gonna be a through street.
Is
That's
it
a
gonna
through
stay a
street,
through
that's-
street?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You're gonna have no stop signs on there.
No,
No, there isn't.
No, you wouldn't want any there.
no.
No, that's what I'm saying.
All right, we'll move on. Supplemental bid for Warner Island Reconstruction.
So if you recall, I believe it was last month, the bids came in for the Warner Allen project. We had 3 bids. Northeast Asphalt was the low bid. And if you remember looking in the bid specs, let's see, the bid tabulation, we had 2 supplemental bids. And supplemental bid A is what we're going to be talking about right now. And this cost was not included in the base bid. The base bid came out at what we knew we were going to do. The supplemental bid was to, and we've worked with the schools in the past. We've done this for past projects when we have an adjacent street reconstruction project. I believe the middle school parking lot was resurfaced at the time based on our bid, working together, trying to get a good price. The more we have to offer, the better a bid can be just because of unit cost. So supplemental bid A was for the school district to see if they wanted to do some redoing the parking lot at Parkview. Their goal is they would like to see, that turn lane that's kind of right in front of Parkview where you can park off and then drop off kids. They want to remove that and get it just like the middle school parking lot, whereas, or the middle school drop off site. So they would pay for new sidewalk and then a new curb along the front there. So that's included in there. And they actually proposed to pay for new sidewalk over by the middle school, right just to the west of the baseball or softball diamonds, in between Beacon and Pine, I think it is. Jay, is that Pine?
Beacon and.
No, Beacon and
Beacon in
Washington, Beacon and Washington.
Be nice to have a sidewalk there.
Yep, they're proposing to pay for that. So yeah, Beacon and Washington,
Yeah.
right along where these softball diamond, soccer field complex, administration building area, right there. So we included that supplemental bid in our base bid, came up with a price. The New London School Board did authorize that they would be financing that. They do want to go ahead and team up with us on this project. Since we have the contract, we would have to approve the supplemental bid as a change order to include this in the contract, and then the school district will be financing the project in the end. So it's basically looking for you guys to approve supplemental bid A in the contract moving forward. It'll be a change order to add those items that are identified in supplemental bid A.
A couple of years ago, I swear there was something that they were gonna put sidewalks all the way down Warner Allen.
There
Is that not
was
happening now? Because I just thought with the whole Warner Allen reconstruction, they were gonna put sidewalks all the way down,
Mhm.
but they're not,
Nope.
all the way to the river?
Correct. Nope. In this bid, now we can add that as a change order anytime you guys want. We didn't include that.
Nice.
But let me see here.
Especially to access the school of all things. I mean, you'd want to have sidewalks, kids to walk instead of on the road.
So currently, starting at Jennings, we have sidewalk in front of Parkview already. We have sidewalk, and you guys can see it going up to Pine.
Well, we don't know
All the way to
I swear it
Washington
was just
Street.
approved a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
We talked about,
Sidewalk.
That's where it stops.
And that's where it stops. So
about putting a sidewalk in
the
there.
school would be including this section.
Is safe routes to school. It got shot down.
Yeah, there's sidewalks all the way to Washington Street.
Yep, the school's addition would get sidewalks to Beacon.
Yeah.
So there would only be a gap from Beacon to Wolf River Avenue right now.
I like to run, and I run down to the river and run to the river and over, and it's like I always have to run on the road there.
Mhm.
That's just my reason.
We didn't include that, but I mean, if you guys want to look at a change order.
Approach a school and see if they'd be interested in paying for a little bit more sidewalk all the way to the river.
They won't do that.
Probably not, buddy.
Well, they got all this extra money that they didn't spend for COVID,
They do have a lot of extra money that is.
and they have to spend it, or they don't get it next year or whatever.
Yeah, people don't want to spend it.
Hey,
I'll make
Probably not, because it's not their property.
Yeah,
The
this-
others are going across.
This is on their property or next to
School
their property. Yep.
right.
So they're probably not going to want to do that. That's a good idea. Then you could cross X and you'd be right onto the river trail.
And maybe that's a future project we look at, adding new sidewalk in here. We haven't approached the current landowners, which would only be one property, and then the county
Or Jamie.
would be over here. And I haven't even looked at that, if that's, I know it gets a little wet. I think it's right here. There's some ditch or something we'd have to cross in this area.
Mr. Dorsey would like to make a motion to approve A, which would include putting a sidewalk for general people alongside of the ball fields between Washington and Beacon Avenue, and the school is going to pay for it. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept that. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion
Sure.
carried. Next. You have city administrator to approve change orders for Warner Allen and Shawano. Reconstruction, in the amount of 50,000.
Yep. So in the past, this is what we've done for projects like the Division Street project, Cedar Street, and all the digester projects. Whenever they're doing projects like this, change orders come up. I mean, it just happens. So we don't really, the engineers can't get 100% what's going to be underground until you start digging things up. And when they're doing that, many times we don't have time to, stop a project 100% and then just, wait for a committee meeting and then a council meeting and then just get the project going. So in the past, the committee has recommended, the council has approved a dollar amount for change orders that the city administrator can approve, just to keep things going. And then I report back to you what happens with those change orders and what they're all about. We have that in our contingency. I think I referenced that in my report. Usually about 10% we budget for contingency. The project is a little over $900,000. So our contingency budget is well over $90,000. I don't think we need that much, but I would like a dollar amount in there, $50,000, just to make sure we've got money in there to keep projects going as needed. So looking for authorization, and then you guys would send that up to the council for city administrator to approve change orders in the amount totaling up to $50,000. And once we hit $50,000 for how many ever change orders that is, we stop and then kind of go from there.
This don't really mean that we're gonna need to spend that. This is just if something comes up,
Correct.
we can continue work without having 2 or 3 meetings.
Correct. Unless Tim wants to twist my arm and I put a change order in for sidewalk all the way to River Avenue, but no, I'm just kidding. Hopefully we don't have to use any of it, but you know, change orders happen. I mean, they don't know until they start digging things up.
It would be nice to get an estimate on the sidewalk, the extension of the sidewalk from there,
Yeah, I'd like to
Down.
see that too.
Just for the heck of it.
just
Yeah.
to see what it's gonna cost.
Well,
A rough cost.
Only gonna get
To go per foot? I would imagine, huh?
let's finish number 9 and I can give that to you because we've got the linear footage, we've got the
I'll make
cost
a
in here.
motion, Chad, for number 9.
Second.
second it.
Motion made and seconded to authorize the city administrator to approve change orders for up to $50,000 total.
Total.
So I said up to.
Did we vote on that?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Geez, not so loud.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried.
I know.
Next item I see is director's report.
Yep, just going back to your question of what that would be for sidewalk. I could figure it out. This is in square foot. I thought this was in linear foot for the bid. So I can figure out, you know, for a 4-inch concrete sidewalk, here's the unit price. It would be $5.25 a square foot. So I could figure that out.
Didn't you have linear foot? I hate to interrupt. Didn't you have linear foot on the 2 bids for those companies? I thought that was in linear footage.
Yes.
Sidewalk bid.
So let's see what that
That
one is.
should give us an idea, shouldn't it?
That's a different contract though. I mean, if we put this on, if we add the project under this bid, it would be this unit cost. Whereas, yeah, let's look at the sidewalk one quick.
I thought that would just give us a rough idea
Nope, square foot.
from the,
Yeah, and this one's quite a bit more. So we wouldn't even want to use this one. Because this is remove and replace. And the other one is basically just putting in new sidewalk, not having to yank out the old ones. So it's a little bit cheaper.
And that's gonna be a lot, that's gonna be a lot more because they're only doing spot.
Correct.
Instead of one log run.
Yep.
Yeah. so
It's a
gonna be
lot more expensive for them to set up and tear out a one little chunk and then move to the next one.
yeah, I just thought it'd give us a rough idea before we get started.
But it still is the unit cost for the sidewalk bid is in square foot, not linear foot. So, but we can get figured out.
This here, they're just tearing the old stuff out. the bases are-
Director's report, nothing really exciting. I know curb and leaf brush pickup began. I got nothing to report on that so far. Service anniversary reports, these are more on the park and rec side, but Paul Nelson completed 6 years of service with the city. He's one of our mowers, part-time seasonal mowers. And then Jane Murphy in our office, she's got her 2nd year, and Michelle and I were talking, we didn't believe that she's already got 2 years with us already. So we congratulate those two. And then we're just kind of waiting for contracts to get the base contract to be signed, and then we can get a pre-construction meeting set up, pre-con meeting set up for the Warner Allen, Shawano Street reconstruction project. So at that point in time, I'll have a better timeline. I know they're kind of chomping at the bit, but we want to wait till school gets out of session or closer out of session before they disrupt a lot of that traffic over there. That's all I got.
No.
Next thing, future items to put on to the next.
I believe this would be the right committee to address the dumpster issue at Taft Park. Public Works, wouldn't it?
Public Works or Parks and Rec, depending
I'd
on
like
which
to
one. But
revisit that issue.
do you guys recall, did that originally come through Parks and Rec or Public Works? I don't remember. The dumpster pads at Taft and St.
I'd
John's.
almost think it'd be Park and Rec, but I'm not sure.
I think they originally came through Public
Yeah,
Works
that was
because the
Parks.
contract for that originally was for the river wall replacement. And that was a Public Works project and it got added on to the river wall replacement project. So I think it originally went through Public Works, if I recall.
How about when we planted the trees in front of the dumpster? That was Parks.
Yeah, we just added money extra for that.
Oh,
I guess it
The
would
park
probably
project.
depend on what we're actually gonna do.
What's that?
Probably depend on what we're actually gonna do.
yeah, really.
I would propose to go back to allowing businesses to have garbage behind their business, and I'd like to get rid of it and maybe put parking spots in there because there's not enough parking downtown.
Mhm.
And maybe have a veteran, parking spot, dedicated parking spot. That'd be kind of cool. It is an eyesore. It does stink. It's very unattractive, even with the trees. And there's still, like I said, the veterans in the community, it was a real black eye to them, and they're still very passionate about it, that they want it removed. And with having the print shop downtown, I have renters that put garbage cans in the back anyway, and when they're full, they'll take it down to the dumpster. So I think it would be, and in the wintertime, it freezes up, it's icy, there's no barrier to the river, it's dangerous. You got bar closed. You got these bartenders taking their bottles to the dumpster, all the way down in the winter, and it's dangerous and it's an eyesore, and I'd like to revisit it and get rid of it.
So with that said, probably since the original proposals and approvals for the contract came out of Public Works, I'm thinking maybe bring it back to Public Works because that's the committee or we could do a joint meeting. We could bring Parks and Rec and Public Works together
Well,
as a joint meeting if you wanted to do that.
We've already got something to bring up with Park and Rec because of the fence on the west end, which is actually park property. That fence put up by the building, isn't there some on Park and Rec?
Oh, on the west side of Taft Park. That's going to be for discussion tomorrow night. At Parks and Rec. But this is on the other side where the dumpster pads are. So
I mean, we can bring it up and see what happens. All you're recommending is we bring it up in the future.
Yep. So I'll put that on Public Works next week or next month, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, for discussion.
What about where would I bring up to get a loading zone?
Get a loading zone.
Loading zone on the street.
Which street?
In front of MK Flooring. So on Water Street.
Probably Public Works if it's on the street. So what are you looking at?
Just a
proposing?
temporary loading zone, like no parking from like 7 to 9 in the morning. Otherwise, Matt sometimes has to park across the street to load, and I don't know. I've started calling in people for the 2-hour parking down there.
That's definitely not enforced.
Well, they're starting to enforce
Are they
it. Somebody
good?
got a ticket because I will call in every day.
Small items.
So that would be a Public Works thing, could be on the street there, So, and all these, basically, anytime there's recommendation, it goes with the chairman, and the chairman dictates what gets on the agenda. So all these type of things, we bring back to, in this case, Mike, and then he blesses them going on the agenda. And
The hardest part is trying to figure out which one it goes to.
I know, that's why I thought, I asked with everyone here.
Right there, the guy in the pink shirt.
Yeah.
anything else?
You gonna put that extended sidewalk on there,
I can.
or are you just gonna email us that information?
What do you want to do? I can put it on the agenda. Yep.
Oh, terrible idea.
All right, any more future? ideas. The next thing is, our next meeting would normally fall on a holiday, I believe. So we're shifting it to Tuesday. We talked how to do this, if we would try to run Park and Rec meeting first. That starts at 4:45, so you're gonna lose 15 minutes of doing, I'm gonna say doing nothing.
Mhm.
So Bob and I talked, we're the two chairmen, we said, let's put Public Works first at 4:30, get some stuff done. And then we'll have Park and Rec to follow. And did you add another meeting that night too?
Library.
No, that's tomorrow night.
That's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. There's a meeting of the whole
Meeting of the whole?
tomorrow night.
That's tomorrow night, not next month.
Yep. So next month, June, because Monday is Memorial Day, we're gonna shift Public Works to Tuesday. We're gonna do Public Works first, and then Parks and Rec Committee right after that following. So there should only be two meetings next month.
I'll have to check my schedule.
Check. Got that, Denny? Check.
Okay, if nothing else, I'll call for
Move to adjourn.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion is adjourned.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good night.